Sarah, can you let me know when Substack is up?
I'm watching for it. It's taking its time as usual.
Oh yeah, there we go. We're good.
And yeah.
We're good. There we are. Why did you have to say that twice?
What?
It's taking its time as usual. Okay.
I didn't say it twice.
I thought you said it twice. So we should talk about today's. Just the quick overview of today. So 61,000 employees today are going to essentially go unpaid this week because of the DHS shutdown, which is really fucked up.
How many did you say? 61,000?
61,000. 61,000 because of the Department of Homeland Security shutdown, and the Democrats blocked a resolution to reopen the DHS yesterday. So now, it's a cat and mouse. It's a fucking cat and mouse game at this point.
Was there something attached to that bill that the Democrats blocked? Okay.
Yeah. The language in that bill would, I think, have passed the SAVE Act,
okay.
which would invalidate a shit ton of votes. And, we're not going to do that. On top of that, Hong Kong just announced it's had its warmest winter since 1884. So literally, global warming is not a fucking lie.
Yeah, here in Denver, we had our second warmest winter on record, and like one of the least snowy.
Right.
The mountain snowpack to the west of me is at like 60% of what it should be.
Right.
Which is going to be terrible for summertime water supply and wildfire risk and all that fun shit.
A shit ton of it is going to be bad. I mean, literally, like, horribly bad. And then I wrote about Pat Parker today, who was an intersectional black lesbian poet from the 60s, who you should read about her. Her poetry is really fascinating stuff. I'm sort of shocked that Miranda did not call me out for claiming Pat Parker, because Miranda should know who Pat Parker is. And if she doesn't, then she's not as cool a poet as I thought she was.
Oh my gosh, I don't know every single poet. This is like the all trans people know each other thing. It's like all poets know each other, right?
You know, like all poets know each other, right?
But it's kind of funny because all trans people really do know each other.
Yeah, for real.
So what's true today and every day, that they try to do all these things to make us untrue, is that you exist in a language they don't bother to learn. So, Miranda, you wanted to talk about the Lambkin, the next red flag on trans genocide?
Yeah. So, the Limkin Institute for Genocide Prevention, a couple days ago, released their third red flag alert about the risk of anti-trans genocide in the U.S. I'm just going to read the first couple of paragraphs from their article, but y'all should really, I'll go read the whole thing because it lays it out. Okay. The Limpkin Institute for Genocide Prevention and Human Security is releasing this third red flag alert for the USA related to the Trump administration's anti-trans initiatives, which have continued to expand nationwide since our last red flag alert on this subject. Over the 8 months since the second RFA's publication, the Republican Party's anti-trans agenda has radicalized and continued to intensify. 2025 was the sixth consecutive record-breaking year for the number of anti-trans bills considered across the country. There was a 45% increase in bills between 2024 and 2025. Between 2021 and 2025, the number of bills in consideration has increased by 668%. The administration has moved from identifying transgender people as a threat to the family and to the nation's military prowess to claiming that transgender people constitute a cosmic threat to the spiritual health of the nation and the greatest direct threat to U.S. national security in the world. Given these ideological developments, especially coupled with the increasingly hostile and draconian legislation against trans identities, the Limpkin Institute believes that the United States is squarely within the early to middle stages of a genocidal process against trans people, the goal of which is to completely erase transgender people not only from public life, but also from existence in the U.S. and globally.
That's scary. It's laid out right there. Like you said, it's right there. And what do we do about it? We can't be like, oh, let's go to another country because it's going to be global.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is something in this transition that gets lost in translation. There's one group of people who are communicating us, and there's another group of people that are communicating and hearing what we're communicating, and there's just not a connection there. And so if I refuse to have to explain myself, why does that make me bad? I'm just trying to live.
Yeah.
No.
We all just want to live.
No, definitely.
So the going right into the talking points. I don't owe the world my identity explained in its language. I owe myself a life lived in my own language. Chavela Vargas, who is a queer Latin American artist. I feel like from my perspective, I spent my whole fucking life translating. My gender, who I loved, what I did. And when you look at Chavela and their life, they walked into Mexico City dive bars and sang songs that people remembered. So, she wore trousers when trousers on a woman would get you killed, like legitimately killed. But she did all the things that she did. She didn't apologize. So to that point, I say your survival is not a pamphlet. My survival is not a flyer. Brandon's survival is not a section in a magazine. It's not a sensitive training module. Our survival is the fact that we wake up every morning and we choose, again, to be exactly what the world doesn't expect us to be, and nor should we care. I went to work yesterday and I wore this really nice, very long, flared A-line skirt, which, by the way, somebody recently told me that skirt looks really good on me because I'm dressing my age. And I don't know who that person is, but I know that person can hear me saying, I'm dressing my age. But the fact of the matter is that following the trans genocide discussion. They want us to be palatable. They want us translated into syllables of their language, and they want us to fit into their comfort space. Fuck their comfort.
There we go.
You know, your art, the way you dress, the way you write, the way Brandon writes, the way Brandon expresses, the way Onyx expresses, the way any of us expresses, is a weapon they can't take from us. You know, they can't take it away from us because they don't know where we keep it. And so in Chevella's case, they didn't become an icon by being understood. None of us will do that. They became an icon because they were undeniable and they were there and they were visible in front of people. And there's a difference. There's a difference in understanding that happens there and then just being undeniable. And so the question then gets asked, what part of yourself did you stop translating for other people, and when? And why? When did you stop making excuses for yourself to other people? I mean, the answer to that is when I came out as a queer person, you know, and that was before I ever came out as trans. And I didn't want to apologize. I felt a certain way about certain people in my life. I will say this, that when that happened, I had very strong feelings for somebody, and because of my fear of expressing those feelings to that person, I cut off all contact with that person. I was deeply in love with that person, but I cut off all contact with that person because that person was at a stage in their life where they could not accept the fact that I was in love with them. And so, and then I spent 17, 18, 19 years trying to get back to that person because that's what I wanted. And that's when I stopped. Like within a short span of time after I stopped talking to this person. That's when I decided I'm not going to translate this shit for anybody anymore. I'm not going to make excuses. This is what I am. Fuck you. You have to accept it. Because if I have to keep bottling this up, I'm not going to be able to. I won't live through this. I won't. And the sad part about that is, well, not the sad part, but the emotional part about that is that I know that person knows that fact. They didn't at the time. They know it now. But they didn't at the time. And maybe they don't realize it, but I would have done just about anything, even then, because of those feelings. So we all know who I'm talking about, right? I mean, I don't have to be any more ambiguous, right? Okay. She's never been in a live before, so I didn't know if talking ambiguously was a good thing or not.
You're fine.
Oh, okay, of course. So, Onyx, when did you stop translating? When did you stop making excuses? And why?
So I've always experimented wearing dresses, always. But it was a certain day I tried on a certain dress, and Egg saw me. I was twirling, and the dress was just moving around me, and it was like this circle of light and color. And Egg like started crying, and it was at that point where she understood how I felt, and her brain made the connection. And when her brain made the connection, it allowed me the freedom. Then I threw away all my boy clothes. And when I did that, it was on and popping. From there, I knew who I was going to be and how I was going to express myself. I knew that I would wear dresses all the time, whether they be mini flare or maxi or any kind of dresses. I just the urge to wear dresses. I'm non-binary, but I lean towards the femme side of dressing, and that I make no excuse for that. I take up space like that.
Sarah, when did you stop making excuses? I know when you stop making excuses, but I'm not going to call you out for it.
I mean, in some ways, I feel like I still am making excuses.
Why?
Because there's a whole section of my family that haven't communicated any of this to. And I know that the minute I do, it's going to go sideways. It's not going to be pretty.
Well, these aren't people that you have a relationship now with necessarily, right?
They think I do.
Oh. Okay.
They think I do, yeah.
One of these people my mom went to go visit a couple of weeks ago. But really the only way to stop making excuses, stop pretending with them, is to just no longer interact with them.
Is there a detriment to not doing so outside of an emotional attachment?
I can't even say that there's an emotional attachment there anymore. Like my uncle was
if that doesn't exist, then why does it become a problem?
To maintain the connection for my mother's sake.
I think there are people in this room that are going to agree with me when I say this, but if you're doing something from a relationship perspective and the reason you're doing it is for someone else, that is a problem.
I can see it being a problem, but I can also see it being what I feel like I need to do for her, because I know that those relationships for her are important. And if I was to be honest with them or even just cut them all off, it would cause her problems.
I mean, do you know that conclusively?
Based on conversations she reported back to me from my uncle, at least with him, yeah.
I mean, I could see that. I feel like that's a 50-50 coin. You flip a coin. If it's tails, those relationships are over. If it's heads, those relationships get stronger because those people are concerned about you through your mother, and then go to your mom and go, okay, we have to fix this. I mean,
I don't want to put her in the middle of that.
I'm just saying, I don't necessarily think that cutting off a relationship with somebody would necessarily, because you're a queer person or a trans person or whatever, that would necessarily be a bad thing. But it's like living vicariously through other people. the problem with living vicariously through other people is you can't. You don't ever get that feeling yourself. Oh, I did that when I was younger, because I wanted that feeling. I just couldn't get it. Brandon, when did you stop making excuses?
I guess it was similar to what are you laughing? What are you laughing about?
I was laughing because of the face you made.
The swivel of the microphone in such a way.
You looked very focused when the microphone came back around.
Okay, bitches, I'm gonna get serious now.
Now it's time. I guess it's similar to you. Like when I came out. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's been kind of gradual though, but just not long after high school, I was with a friend of mine at an event, an expo kind of thing. We were walking along. It's one of those where you get a bunch of free stuff. You give you a bag and get little pencils and keychains and things. You know what I mean? And we were walking along. I was holding the bag and I was kind of like swinging it, and it was kind of gay, I guess. The way he looked at it, and he was like, and he was kind of embarrassed by what I was doing. He was like, "Hold it like this," just like normally, and so I was kind of embarrassed by that, and felt bad, like he was embarrassed to be around me, acting gay, I guess. I mean, at the time I wasn't out, and he's a very, very conservative Christian. His dad was very conservative, and they were into he was taught very strictly under like MacArthur and Charles Spurgeon and the big religious leaders, the authorities on the Bible. And it was kind of like, you're supposed to act like a man, and I don't know, after I gradually started coming out, I didn't care anymore about, like, it doesn't matter if I use my hands more or talk with a slightly higher voice than what normal men talk like or whatever. And I don't know, I guess that it's still kind of a gradual process, but for me, I've heard of some people that kind of just flip a switch basically, and they're just like, from now on, that's it. And that wasn't me, Yeah, I couldn't. I wasn't like that. I didn't like have a big coming out party or whatever and tell everyone I knew. And I was talking to somebody just last month, I think, and that's what he did when he realized finally that he was gay, and he just basically told everybody he knew, and that's the way it was. And I'm like, I can't do it that way. That's not my personality. But I understand what Sarah was talking about doing when even though somebody may not agree with what you do and everything, you still love them, and you want to. When you really love somebody, you make sacrifices for them. So I can understand that viewpoint, even though a lot of people see it as kind of black and white, and we're like, well, if they're not going to accept you, then you cut them off. That's easy to say, but when you're in that relationship and you really love that person, it is very difficult.
Profound.
You're right.
But
Yeah, it definitely is.
Miranda, when did you stop making excuses?
I'm supposed to stop making excuses? Oh no.
No.
Yeah, so like I can relate to things that everybody has said. I did spend a lot of my life thinking about and living for these expectations that other people have. You know, like I am the, you know, only son of an only son, so I was supposed to be the one that's like carrying on the family name or whatever. You know, there was always a big presence of my grandfathers as the leaders of the family. So, you know, I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to be the man that they wanted me to be, and you know, it just got harder and harder and more disconnected from who I really am. And I had to get to a point where, I guess, kind of a breaking point where it was like, if I don't do what I need to do for myself, then they're not going to have a grandson anymore anyway. You know, so yeah, like that was kind of one part of it, and then I loved what Onyx Rose said about like her partner seeing her euphoria as she like spun in the dress, and that is like that's very, very relatable because it's like you know, my wife saw the whole process of, you know, closeted me and like egg phase me trying to like figure out where I was going, and then whenever I came out to her, I was terrified because it was like, you know, will she still love me? Will she still want to be with me? And you know, so then so like I came out to her, came out to the kids, came out to the rest of the family, and then did the like the public coming out and work and all of that stuff. And when I got to that point, I think is when she really started to see my euphoria at the chance to be me. And she's, I mean, been 100% supportive, and she'll do things to like cause gender euphoric moments.
I've been around your wife. I know this.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love it. And so, you know, now I don't make excuses for who I am. I'm just myself. I'm living my life. Happy to, you know, talk with all of those family and friends who have difficulty accepting it, but I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. They can feel how they need to about it.
100.
Yeah, 100%. So now, not that anybody would have expected this, but Kira, when did you stop making excuses?
Probably maybe 2 years after I started transition. It was a scenario where, I'm going out and in public and I'm trying to dress like my true self, and everybody keeps, at least in my mind, everybody's looking at me, trying to figure out what's going on, or show disgust or things like that. And with my partner at the time, I would always point out, be like, hey, they're looking at me, and I'm getting a lot of disgusted looks and everything. And she would always tell me that, well, one, either it's just all in my head, I'm making it up, or it's not real. So I basically had no kind of support in that area. But eventually, I just decided that I didn't really care anymore. I didn't care what others thought. I was just, going to be myself, and I just have to deal with it. And I still get looks occasionally, but I stopped. I guess you can say I stopped looking for those looks, because when you first come out, you first transition, you're looking at what others are when they're looking at you, because you want to see what's going on. It's part of your heightened awareness. And I basically just stopped that. I don't care.
The very sad part about that is that while I notice that, most times I don't, and it's Charlie, our kid, is like, Mom, that person, they were looking at you. Oh, well, shit.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice, so I didn't have time to go,
Yeah, we'll still get looks and stuff. I know I still probably get looks, but I don't look out for it. The only thing now when I'm out, the only thing I do is I try to look out for, getting training. I look out for danger, just heightened awareness in terms of people that I think might be a danger. But other than that, I don't. It's just anything else.
well, there's a permission. You have to give yourself permission. The self that I long for has never once required permission, and it shouldn't. Shuri Moraga. Permission is a lock. So understand that in your body and in your head. That permission is designed by people who need you to be waiting outside of a door that they're going to let you into, because letting you into it makes them feel like they're being generous and makes them feel like they're being kind. And when they finally open the door and let you walk inside of it, you were never supposed to be grateful for entry into whatever room that was built without your dimensions ever being taken into account. So, Moraga wrote in 2 languages because one was never enough to hold on to what she knew. She was Spanish. English for the institutions that needed to hear it, and Spanish for the body that already understood what it was. And she didn't ask which language was more legitimate over the other. That's not a permission that you need to have. She used both, like the hands on both of her arms. So every queer kid, every queer person, every trans kid, every trans person who was told that what they were was too much, too loud, too brown, too femme, too butch, too masculine, too feminine, to anything else. Too much want in a world that rations belonging. Because really, from a society perspective, want is rationed by everybody else. And so, you know, in Maraga's case, she wrote for all of us. Not to me, not to Onyx, not to Brandon, not to Kira, not to Miranda or Sarah, but for you. There's a collective permission there. And so you have to stop knocking at the door. The door you've been knocking on was designed without a handle on your side of the door. And it's meant to shut you out. So fuck going through the door. Build the goddamn room on the other side of the door. And then when they try to walk into it, say, you're not welcome here. You know, with whatever it is that you have. Permission is the most elegant cage ever designed because the person inside it thinks they're just being polite, which is bullshit. And so the question then becomes, is there a room that you are waiting to be invited into instead of just building? And for many years, this is going to sound weird, but as a druid, that was the door. So there was an expectation when I was younger that I would hold a certain faith standard. I didn't. And so rather than people just accept me for the fact that I'm a druid and the fact that I am a bard because I came up as a druid, or an ovid because I came up as a druid, or you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, there was an expectation that I would go in another direction. And so, you know, here's the thing. Waiting for the door of acceptance to say, hey, I can help you. Well, the one time I did it, I got fired from a job for it. Because somebody was telling me they weren't feeling good. And I said, I'm a mom. I'm a druid, and there's a natural way to approach what you're doing, and here you go. Just do this, and you'll feel better. And then a month later, I ended up staring down separation paperwork, which forced me to sign an NDA that said I would not sue the company if they gave me 3 months severance, which is what they did. And the reason on my separation notice was I upset a faithful person with my trans identity. And so, you know, from that perspective, you know, that's the thing that sort of bothers me, is because I have this maternal instinct, and if people don't accept it, then it must be a door I'm waiting to go into for people to do that. So, Brandon, is there a door that you're still waiting to go into? Wait, I know. It's your guy's house. You haven't gone into your guy's house yet.
I haven't. He messaged me though.
Oh my God, really?
Wants to meet again.
You're my soap opera. He wants to meet you again?
Yeah.
But you're not feeling it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't see this being like a long-term or certainly not forever thing. I don't think. Just, but I'll still meet him again, I guess.
Can you have? I'm sorry,
do.
Brandon. I have to ask. Can you have a little fun there?
Yeah, I'm fine with fun.
Okay.
But, you know, ultimately I would like
Love.
lead somewhere. But yeah.
Everybody wants love. Come on now.
Yeah. I don't really see it happening with this particular guy, but I'm not completely ruling it out.
Oh, you mean like Sarah with her person?
Maybe I'm
that nobody knows about. Don't blame me. I just write the stories the way I'm told to.
Oh yeah, I read that one.
Oh, did you?
I did.
What did you think of it?
It was interesting. I don't know how far away from the truth it is.
I was only given that information and told to write about it.
Oh, I see. Well,
You take a bit of creative license.
I was guessing that. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
There's a betting
yeah. I mean,
pool, right?
I'm not in on this betting pool, but
I'm not either.
Yes, there's a betting pool for who it is. If it's even a real,
for who it is,
a real person.
Oh.
Because Sarah won't say Sarah isn't a real person.
Are you accusing her of? Oh, it may not be. Okay, well, that's all right.
Oh no, I think it's a real person.
I'm trying not to be with mine. I'm trying not to be closed-minded and trying to just leave it open. And maybe my first impressions are not accurate. And I don't know. We'll see. But I try to be open-minded.
We all like to hear that.
But no guesses who it is. See, Onyx thinks it's
do I know that?
See, Onyx thinks it's Elaine.
No, not Elaine. I didn't say Elaine.
Okay, you think it's Eileen?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, Sarah won't even talk to whether or not she's actually
I'm
seen the
not
person or
interested.
not. So, come on, you can
I'm
at
not
least
going
tell
to
us
proffer
that.
a guess. I don't. I think she's keeping silent.
She won't say, because if she does, and it really is Eileen, that means she's been on a plane.
See, this is where we need that little icon with the cricket.
Right. Sarah, which door are you still waiting outside to gain entry to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've had to build so much of my own spaces. I don't know that I pay attention to the doors that haven't opened for me or not.
There's a security in that.
Yeah, I look at it like self-reliance.
Yeah, if you aren't aware that those doors are closed to you, then are you really missing out if you're not aware that those doors are there or not? I don't know. I don't think so.
There's a certain amount of bliss in ignorance, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's definitely bliss in ignorance. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. Kira, is there a door that's closed to you that you're waiting to enter?
I must have missed the part we're talking about doors. What?
The question is there a space, whether figurative or literal, that you are waiting for permission to enter? And no, I don't mean the other night when we went to Friends on Ponce and the dude grabbed my boobs. And started humping me, and that was not a fun experience.
Oh, it got a little risque.
Well, at least we didn't play a pool with him.
No, we weren't playing pool with him. The guy we were playing pool with, though, he hugged me a couple of times, and he had a fucking baseball bat downstairs.
I don't understand how you're hugging these people where you're like right up in their crotch.
The one dude was just humping.
Well, yes.
Harry Pothead was his name.
So he's a porn star.
No, he said my name's Harold, but sometimes people call me Harry Pothead.
So he's a stoner.
Oh, he was so fucking stoned and so fucking drunk. But the beauty about it was the guy that we ended up playing pool with, Miggy was his name. And he asked me my name. He's like, dude, what's your name? And I'm like, Wendy. And he went, oh my God, I'm sorry. And he immediately pronoun corrected, like right there.
That is so awesome. When that happens, doesn't it feel great? You know?
Yeah. He was like, I'm so sorry.
That's the reason we go there.
Yeah. Friends on Ponce in Atlanta is a bi person of color queer bar. And so invariably most of the people that go in there are POCs, but they're so friendly. We went in there, I sat down, and there was a girl next to me, and I told her, I'm not trying to crowd you or whatever, but can I sit here? She's like, honey, you can sit on my lap anytime you want.
Hey.
And so, yeah, like that's so queer. I've had to teach Kira that is that queer spaces are actually, it's a very different social dynamic. People are friendly. Sometimes people are too friendly. Boobs get grabbed.
Right.
But the rest of the time, yeah, it's much better of a social setting in many cases than, normal heterosexual spaces or whatever. I mean, you go to American Pie or Cabo Wabo over on Roswell Road, and that's a meat market. The guys in there are trying to bag every girl in the bar.
Any girl they can get. Yeah.
Any girl, right.
Yeah.
What girl can I convince to go out to my car and give me a blowjob?
No.
Or Johnny's Hideaway, for that matter. But so,
although on the flip side, there is Tokyo Valentino, and
You want to laugh about that? Tokyo Valentino, for the party members that don't know, is the local adult entertainment club that is the adult booth and glory hole and group activity room establishment in Atlanta. So, right. So, Miranda, which room do you not have permission to go into that you shouldn't even bother with?
I've been taking a new vitamin every day.
I don't know. I feel like I just go in the room. If somebody tries to close the door, then whatever. There's I don't know, maybe this speaks to it, but there's like an odd thing about being a mom who's a trans woman, and um, yeah, and my partner also being a mom. And so, when there are spaces or situations or social gatherings where the men split off in one direction and the women split off in the other direction, um, there's always somebody who's like thinking I should go off with the men. And like, no, I don't care. You can think that, but I'm not going to. And yeah, so
Does it cause problems when there's the split and you go off with the ladies? Do you encounter any ladies who will like kind of say shit to you or like give you the look?
um, I've gotten looks. I haven't really gotten comments.
Okay.
It's you know how like a lot of times when things are gender split like that, it's like the men are doing some kind of entertainment, right? They're watching sports, they're whatever,
Right.
and the women are talking, and so there will be this group of women. They're talking about their husbands, their kids, whatever, and it's like, um, but I'm there with my spouse.
Right.
So, there's not the vibe of like, this is the space where I complain about my spouse. Which, I mean,
Right.
yeah. And so sometimes they'll feel, I don't know, like they seem to be portraying that that dynamic is tricky for them. But once everybody settles in, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So it's one
There's
of
a
those
certain
things where
time.
like me going through the door um, shows them that I'm comfortable, and then they have to acclimate to me,
Yes.
my presence.
Right. So, Onyx, which door are you waiting to have permission to go into?
Well, I'm pushing myself through the door of my artistic ability. I feel like with everything else I have stepped out, especially within my trans identity and all of that. That was a major step out for me. I did that. I came out on the other side. I'm proud of that. Now comes the writing, and now comes the willingness to put it out there and have people read it, to be as vulnerable as possible and to expose the darker parts of my past that a lot of people don't know about. So I'm giving myself permission to do that. I'm stepping through that door, and I'm not going to shut it until I get everything out. And I'll either die famous or I'll die infamous or I'll die poor and somebody will find my shit when I die.
So I should point out that, and they've said this before, one of the greatest science fiction writers of all time was a writer named Philip K. Dick. And Dick's books and short stories were memorable enough, by the way, that for a science fiction author, more of his books have been made into movies than others. And at the end of his career, towards the end of his life even, he was working in a McDonald's and still writing books. And so that was, so for me, that I was on Substack and I was building up followers, and I hit 4,000 followers, 5,000 followers. I had, and then at some moment, I finally realized I don't want to write the shit that I'm writing for these people to pay me money. I want to write this shit because the writing itself is important.
Yes.
I mean, I want to be supported or whatever, but that shouldn't be I shouldn't. Jeff Teesrick told me that one day. He was like, Wendy, don't write because it makes you money. Write because it makes you feel good.
You need to get it out, That's everything that's
And so now Konstantin Kavefe. Miranda, you have to know who that is. Okay, good. Greek, who is a Greek Egyptian poet. As you set out for Ithaca, hope the voyage is long, full of adventure, and full of discovery. And so what Kavefe knew, and this is what every queer person knows or should know, the destination's not the fucking point. Ithaca was a direction, not an address. The voyage is where you become the real person that you are. And every port where you stopped and tasted something, or you talked to 3 crazy women who were on the rocks that were trying to woo you into crashing into the rocks, or you were in some dude's cave that had one eye, calling yourself nobody or not, right, okay, we all know what I'm talking about. That was education. That was learning in the process of the journey. And so the seas are ugly right now. I'm not going to even remotely fucking pretend that they are. The political water is black and the wind is hostile. And the maps that we have were drawn by people who do not give 2 flying fucks about any of us. Not Brandon, not Onyx, not Sarah, not Miranda, not Kira, none of us. We don't give a shit. But from my perspective, I'm just too stubborn.
Yeah.
I republished this story about the conflict between my brother and I. And in that story, while I am phasing in the story between consciousness and not consciousness, there are people from the Sanctuary Bar who are literally saying, she's too stubborn to die. She's too stubborn to go away. It won't happen. And they're right. While I have moments where I feel like I want to go out into the long field, I'm too stubborn for that shit. And the fact of the matter is, the people who are out there, they think that we're lost because we're not following the road that they carved out. Good. Fucking let them think that. I don't give a shit. I don't owe anyone an itinerary for what direction I'm going for in my life. You know who deserves an itinerary for where I'm going in my life? Bottom right corner of the screen. She deserves that itinerary. The people that I love and care about, those are the people that deserve a map for where I'm going and why I'm getting there. Not anybody else. I don't know really how to describe this, but there's a specific kind of queer trans courage that looks like aimlessness in a straight world. And that's years of figuring it out. The houses, the partners, the identities, the clothes. It wasn't confusion. That was the voyage. That was Ithaca doing exactly what Kavefe promised would happen, which is long. And I will tell you, when I look at Kira, I see it. I see that, and it's beautiful, full of adventure, full of discovery, and full of becoming who you are, who you're going to be. And so that introspective question then becomes, what part of your journey did you once call lost that you now call necessary? And for me, yeah, coming out as a trans woman was, when I was younger, and I went through all the shit that I went through. I hyper masculine presented myself because I was trying to bury Wendy's voice. I put myself into situations where I repeatedly got physically hurt. Go into a bar and pick a fight with the biggest guy that you can find. I constantly tried to punish myself. I constantly tried to misdirect myself. I constantly tried to distract myself from that one thing. And the one thing was the stupid voice in the back of my head that was saying, I'm still here. You can beat yourself to a pulp. You can put yourself in the hospital in a traction bed for 9 fucking months. Guess what? I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm still going to be there. And I'm still going to etch away at what layer it is that you put up to shield me out. And that's sort of, the things we do to deal with it, which are not always the right things to do to deal with it. But that's because we didn't see what it was. Onyx.
So I've certainly put myself in certain sexual health positions that I probably should not have, and avoided getting tested for years because of that. With being trans, of course, coming out, I didn't get the chance to actually come out to egg. I was outed. So that was kind of rough, but then I came out to everybody else and lost all my friends and, my parents, and that was fine because at that point it was transition or die. And I chose to transition, which allowed me to live. And in choosing life, it's allowed me to blossom, bloom, experience everything that I do. I live openly. Once I threw away all my guy's clothing and shaved my last man beard, it was on and popping, and I knew who I was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to get there. So I went from binary trans woman to non-binary, back to binary trans woman, and then back to non-binary. And this is probably where I'll stay. I move between the two. But the good thing is that I don't care. I don't really care what a lot of people think of me in terms of how I dress, how I sound. This whole package is me, and I did this shit, from my tattoos to my surgeries to my voice to my clothing to the way I dress. It's all me, and I fought for this. My mental health, I fight every fucking day, but I fight, and I smile, and I take people in confidence, and I help people. And that's, that I feel is my calling. I don't shout from the rooftops about it, but I do help people in confidence. And I feel like, I feel good about that. So, yeah.
Sarah.
I had an answer and it's escaping me at the moment.
Okay, we'll skip you and come back to you. Kira.
All right. So, what exactly is the question?
Brandon, why did you have to do that? What part of the journey did you once call lost that you now deem as necessary?
What I lost that I now think is necessary.
Yeah, what step in the journey was the point where you're like, no, that's not what the fuck that is. But now that you've gone through that crucible, you realize that needed to happen.
That's hard.
Well,
Probably for me, it is the resurgence of emotions, I guess. Because growing up, being so closed off from my emotions and not be able to show emotion, things like that. And then starting hormones and like kicking the ass of emotions, and then learning how to deal with those emotions. It's a lot, and there's a time where I was thinking that this, the struggle with it all, it just wasn't worth it. But persevere, pull through it, and now I feel like I'm better off for it.
well, I mean, I would say you are. Miranda?
I don't know. Can you repeat the question?
What part of the journey was the journey you didn't? Part of the journey that you thought was just lost and unnecessary, but then after you got through it, you realized it really was a crucial step in the journey.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I really worried about before I came out was expecting to lose friends and family. And I did. But once I got past the initial grief, because you do grieve losing people, even if it's because they're rejecting you. Once I got through the grief, through the loss, then I was able to start building new family, new friendships, and those connections, and the connections to the people who have stayed with me from before. Like, all of those connections are stronger and more meaningful than the lost connections ever were.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Brandon?
I guess the part of my journey that I initially thought was not possible was pursuing an actual relationship with a guy. When I first was exploring my sexuality, I hooked up with guys, and it was about sex basically. But I thought, I'm never going to be able to be in a actual public relationship or anything. And I just couldn't imagine that happening, and now I can.
Oh.
I think that that's important. Speaking from my experience to you, Brandon, I'm going to connect with you on this point. Is when I came out as queer, I started dating a guy, and there were things that happened in that relationship. And Kira knows a lot of this. And I've talked to Miranda about this some, and Sarah's heard some of this too. But, I was in a relationship with this guy, and, it was go to bed at night and not be gentle. And I thought that was how that was supposed to happen. And so, I lasted in that relationship for 18 months, a couple of hospital visits, and some lower GI damage for obvious reasons, of course. And then the next relationship I had, it was the same thing. And so I didn't have anybody to sort of just guide me through this. So it just felt like I was with people to have sex with them, and then that was it. And so as a queer person, much less as a trans person, I didn't think that love was something that was ever going to happen. Of course, from my perspective, I sent somebody a LinkedIn message after not talking to them for 16 years and asking the person, how the fuck do I know you? And then figuring out who the person is, realizing that was the person I was in love with 16 years ago, is now the person I'm with now. And I'm very much in love. I'm very much in love with her. But yeah, the end of all of this is very simple. People told truth out loud into a room that didn't want to hear it. That's not small. That's really, right now in America, that's the rarest thing right now. Those voices are our voices. Our other voices are getting louder, but it's still very quiet. So what do I say to all of it? You're untranslatable. You're unpermissioned. You're in the middle of your voyage. All three at once. And that's not a crisis. That's just living. That's just living life. That's what you go find one person and you refuse to explain yourself to that person and just sit and talk with them and let that be enough. It should be enough. I mean, it's not hard. I told Kira, my social anxiety means I talk to people, because when you talk to somebody in public, especially if it's somebody you don't know, you can completely disarm them just by engaging them. And oftentimes you'll find, well, I don't understand what your experience is like. Well, can I tell you? And then you tell them, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that it was like this. I didn't know that that was your experience. Human beings shouldn't experience that, shouldn't go through that. Well, yeah, that's true. But there's a lot of people that think that we should. And build the room, open the door. Fuck what everybody else thinks. I would like to think that most of the time I literally don't give a fuck what other people think. But then I go over to the Waffle House in Avondale Estates with my spouse and my kids. And somebody looks at me the wrong way, and then I catch a glimpse of it, and I go, and then I tell her, they said that. Of course, she has to tell me, Wendy, just put it out of your head. Don't give a shit. Put it the fuck out of your head. Don't think about it. Just live your life. That's what you're supposed to do. So, yeah, that's what I try to do.
It's hard to sometimes, though, you know? Once you catch that glimpse, you know, it's just like, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every day. Every day. Anybody have anything in closing? We've gone over the hour. And I don't want to show Brandon a unicorn gay video because I'm trying to save that for once a month.
I'll end up with my usual no trash, no transphobia, no racism, no ableism, no sexism, no homophobia, fuck Trump, and fuck ICE.
I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Yes, happy Friday the 13th. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Happy fun Friday the 13th. Everybody have a good time. Eileen, yeah, you caught the tail end. Everybody in the chat, thank you.
Well, we'll be back next week, hopefully on better infrastructure while I work that shit out so that we can get all of our shit out. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you to all of my co-hosts. Kira, who this is the first of our show that Kira has ever appeared in, and she actually talked. I was shocked.
You did kind of put her on the spot.
Yeah, to be fair.
I live with her. Nobody does that better than me. Although I do want to point out, in the background, you see the book on the wall above the 3 controllers? Nobody has asked about what the book is.
I can't tell. I couldn't tell that was a book.
Can't
Oh,
see.
no.
Like,
Yes.
all of y'all are this big on the screen.
Yes.
So.
Yes, there's the book.
It's pretty. The cover is pretty. I don't know what it says.
So has anybody here, other than Kira, who I know has done this already, seen the movie The Evil Dead?
No.
Okay. That's the Necronomicon from The Evil Dead.
Is the Necronomicon even real, or was it just made up for that shit?
No, it's just made up shit.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Like, people try to
It's
pass
made
it
up
off as
shit.
real, and I'm like, nah.
All right,
it's not
wait.
real.
Onyx, are you telling me that someone wrote a book made of human flesh pages, written in blood, that told you how to open up the gates of hell? And it really happened? No.
Oh, so there are pamphlets in the Vatican. You'd be surprised.
Oh, fucking Catholics. Jesus. Fucking Catholics. Okay. Everyone be safe. Go out and do good things. Come back on Monday.